This third wave of ministers is made up of those who have experienced only post-merger Unitarian Universalism. As the essays in the book describe us, we often serve as a bridge, not only by our cultural, generational category, but also by the very nature of our placement on a Unitarian Universalist historical timeline. Because Unitarian Universalism, born in 1961, incidentally, the same year that postmodernism was recognized as a trend, in many ways parallels much of the Generation X struggle. The questions that these Generation X ministers ask of our movement in this book, in many ways, are indicative of how the movement is reflecting upon itself, because we are the leaders produced by such a faith. As we gathered the authors for this collection, we asked one primary driving question. What do you want to say to the movement at this time, at the beginning of your ministry? In gathering the voices for submission, we made a serious effort to pay attention to our own inclusion and exclusion of diversity. You'll see that in gender, race, ministerial roles, sexual orientation, and theological preference. Another default awareness of many Gen Xers is the painful awareness of diversity. We were clear that this was only the beginning of a process that we know is larger, a much larger conversation, and is a catalyst, we hope, for change. Marlon and I are both included in this book with our own essays. We each took the opportunity to say something to the movement that may not be as relevant to you, because this church already understands and does the very things that Marlon and I are pointing to. So we anticipated these conversations and wanted to give voices to ideas that are not captured in the essays gathered, and so we created a website so that the continuation of this conversation could happen. But what is relevant to you? You are the reason why this book was published. Not only because of this church's influence in the movement, but because of its insistence in creating a way for this movement to get feedback from its members. Jenkins Lloyd-Jones Press helps to hold Unitarian Universalism accountable. This book is also relevant to you because you have called 2 Generation X ministers to represent your ministry in this community and beyond. There is something about our common desire to resist common culture as entirely healthy that might speak to you. Maybe you are in Generation X, or maybe you have come before or after. But something about the desire to communicate across the generational divide calls to you. You are loved by 2 Generation X ministers, and we know that we are loved and made better in our ministries because of you. I believe that Marlon and I have many things in common as we envision the future of this church and minister to those in the present. We believe that the history of this church is not only important, but key to an understanding of where we are going and how we will get there. That means an investment in and a respect for the generations who have paved our way and made today possible. We are the inheritors of a free faith tradition. And as we say in many of our memorial services, we are also surrounded by a mighty cloud of witnesses. Saints and prophets, aged men, gracious women, and little children, all those most dear who, though some may be invisible to the outward eye, speak within our hearts of truth and love and peace. And their presence and memories serve to hold us accountable. Marlon and I share the insistence that our youth also hold valuable insight to who we are and where we're going, and that this tradition is one worth teaching to our children and shaping our experiences from theirs. We are both clear that nothing is more important than honoring the gifts of a child. So we both honor our past and look to our future, and where does that leave those in between? We are both working alongside boomers and young adults, doing the work to make this vision a reality. And Marlon and I also agree that the question for all of us is the same. How will you bring your gifts and your talents to church? How can we help you to manifest your values, our values, in the world? We believe that your needs will be best met if you can bring your whole self to church, mind and spirit and body. So let us change the community and the movement and the world together.